One of the professors there gave a great talk. He said, now that your kids are here, leave them alone. Spare them your advice if you can. He said, because you don't know what they'll discover about themselves while they're here. And he said, he gave the example of his own son. He said, when his son had started at USC to about 12 years before, 10 or 12 years before, he said he was planning to do classics. He was going to major in classics. And he said, we were a bit worried about that because we thought, what type of a job would you get with a classics degree? He said, so we're really relieved when at the end of the first year of college, he came home and said, Mum and Dad, I don't think I'll do classics as a major. He said, okay, trying to suppress our enthusiasm for this decision. He said, great. He said, why is that? He said, honestly, I don't think it's going to be very practical. He said, right, okay. He said, I think I'm going to do something else that'll be more useful. He said, great, what's that? He said, philosophy. And he said, so we pointed out that none of the big philosophy companies were hiring at the moment. The job market was a bit sluggish in philosophy. And he said, anyway, he went back and he did a year's philosophy, but he ended up majoring in art history. He said, and if I tell you that here we are 10 years later, he has a job in a major auction house, he travels the world, he makes good money, enough for himself, he loves the life he leads and the people he leads it with, and he couldn't be feeling better about how this has turned out. And he said the reason he got the job was because of his knowledge of art history, his grounding in ancient cultures, and the intellectual training that came with his philosophy program. He said, but if he'd gone into USC and we'd said to him, look, here's the plan. Why don't you do philosophy, art history, and classics? And you never know. 10 years from now, there may be a job in an auction house. It could just line up that way. And I say it isn't that way because of the essentially creative nature of being alive, of being a human being. And to me, it's an essential principle. It's why I argue so hard about reform in education, because our education systems are based on a linear mode of production. And it's, I believe, why so many people end up feeling detached from their own talents, because they've been through an education system that prioritizes certain types of talent and marginalizes the vast majority of other ones. And if you're not good at certain things, like if you're not good at mathematics, you're assumed not to be good generally. And for me, it's why we have to argue for a transformation in education systems, but not just that, but also in our workplaces. But it begins with transformation of ourselves. It's something that we came to the Vancouver Peace Summit was that this is something the Dalai Lama said, you cannot promote world peace if you are angry. It's as simple as that. It's Gandhi's point. You have to be at peace with yourself, not complacent with yourself, but at least at peace with your own possibilities. And as Gandhi said, you have to be the change you want to see in the world. You can't promote things to which you are insensitive. It's why so many teachers have a problem promoting creativity, because they themselves aren't in touch with their own creative possibilities, and why that's a bigger hill that we have to climb. But in the end, I think it comes back to what Carl Jung said. He said that I am not what has happened to me as a human being, I am what I choose to become. It's the same point George Kelly made when he said that nobody needs to be the victim of their own biography. And as Jung said, you're what we choose to become. And as a human being, you're born with a lot of choices. And I think for our own fulfillment, for the fulfillment of the people around us, we should be sure to explore them and make the right one.